previous video, we've seen how we can create forms using HTML. So using Django templates, which are HTML templates, we've been able to create forms. However, we're going to see in this video that we can use Django Forms, which are much suitable for us, and we're going to see why. So if we go back to that application we've been working on, we're trying to create an application that has a page that contains all the list of reminders that we have, and we're trying to create a page that's going to let us add new reminders to that list. And so we created a form in that HTML page, and you can see that we created this form sort of from scratch. I created an input field whose type is text and whose name is reminder, and another type, an input of type submit. But creating forms that happen so often in the world of web programming, oftentimes with many different fields that you might want to change over time. But Django has added a number of ways to make it easier to create forms, to validate the data inside of the form, just to make our lives a little bit easier when it comes to dealing with interacting with forms. And so now we'll explore the way to do the same thing. What we wrote here just works. We submit the form and everything works out. But Django has the ability to create Django forms for us, and the ability to do that is in views.py. I'm going to be writing on top of my page. From Django, I am going to be first importing forms, and now I'm going to create a new class to present this form. I'll be creating a Python class, and let's call it new reminder form, and of course no spaces between. So new reminder form, and because this form is going to since this class is going to give me a new reminder, it's going to inherit from forms.form. So forms.form, and of course we add a column and then indentation. And now inside of this class I need to define all of the fields that I would like for this form, all the inputs that I would like the user to provide. And so I want them to provide the name of that reminder, which will be a character field or a char field, meaning I want the user to type in characters, and I can give this a label. So a new reminder, and the way to do so is by adding a new variable reminder, and I'm going to type in forms, and from forms I'm going to get char field, so character field, and I'd like to get this char field an argument which is label, and this label is new reminder. And so now this is my form, which contains a char field where the user can write in the name of the new reminder. And now in order to add it into our HTML page, we're going to when we're going to render that add.html page, we're going to pass in a parameter, which is that form. So we're going to pass in a parameter, a variable, which is form, which is going to be a new reminder and form. So new, and so that's the way we create a new form. So this is the class, and now I'm creating an object of that class, a new form of that class form. And so now all we have to do is to save it first and go to add.html, and instead of writing this input type text, I'm just going to plug in that form. And so that form is the same form which we passed in as a parameter. And so what I did here is just using those double curly braces and saying plug in that form here, and that will automatically take care of it. Django will generate the necessary HTML to make that form work. And so now if we go ahead and run our application, so python manage.py run server, and copy that link, we can see that we have an error. So let's see what's that error. We have attribute error, module Django.forms has no attribute form. And whenever you get an error, try to understand where you got that error, decode it. So where did you cause that error to happen? And so you can see that we have an indication that it is in line 5 of our views.py. So we go to line 5, and you can see that we need to capitalize that form. So forms.form, which is capital. And now let's go ahead and save that and copy that link. You can see that our error has been resolved, and now all I have to do is just copy that link and paste it here, and I'm going to go to reminders. Now let's just fix that. So it's with a small R, I'm guessing. So okay, so reminders. So now if I go ahead and click on add a new reminder, you can see that I have this char field which has the label new reminder and the submit button, and I can type in anything and we are gotten to that main page. However, that new reminder is not added, and we're going to see how to add that, however, in the next video. For now, I'm going to just be focusing on that form. But for now, maybe I want to eventually make upgrades to my application, where in addition to having that new reminder, so that char field where I pass in a new reminder, maybe I also want to be able to specify a number indicating the importance of that reminder. I can additionally give this form access to an importance variable, which is an integer field whose label is importance. And so let's go ahead and see how I can do that. So let's create a variable called importance, and it's going to be a forms dot integer field. So let's just fix that. Forms dot integer field, and I'm going to give this integer field a label of importance. Sorry about that. So importance is the label of that variable. Now I can add constraints to this integer field. So in order to make sure it's valid, I can give it a value, maybe 1, minimum value of 1 and a maximum value of 10. So the range is going to be between 1 and 10. So min value is going to be 1, and max value, of course, separated by a comma, and a max value of, let's say, 10. So now if I go ahead and save that and refresh, I'm going to so let's refresh the reminders. I can see that now in addition to having a char field which has a new reminder, I also have an integer field for the importance. So now let's say I add in a new reminder eat, and let's say I add an importance of which have the value which is outside the boundary that we specified. So let's say I added 11 and I click on submit. You can see that Django gave me that this value must be less than or equal to 10. So I cannot submit that form unless I have that importance value inside of my constraints. One more thing is, let's say I don't type in any value and submit. I have to fill out that reminder. So I cannot just submit one field. I have to submit all the fields that are inside of my form. However, that's not only the case. I can tell Django that maybe I don't want this field to be obligatory. So maybe I want um, I have this text field that the user could type in a description. However, that description is optional. So whenever it's optional, that means that I can submit my form without having to write in anything inside of that description. And we're going to see how to do that when we reach models. And that's going to be in the few next videos, hopefully. So, one last thing. Maybe you want to put your fields in a way that's different than that. So I don't want them to be aligned horizontally. And what I can do is inside of my add.html, instead of just writing form, I can add form dot a parameter which is as p, which means as paragraph. So now if I refresh, you can see that now my fields are in a paragraph form, so they are below each other. Another thing I can do is I don't want it to be as a paragraph, I want it to be as an unordered list, and so as well. And now if I refresh, you can see that these are in bullet points and below each other. And now we have submit. So that's one way we could use forms instead of just using HTML and raw HTML, but using those Django forms inside of our applications in Django. And one important thing that we need to change here is that the action should be now add. Since we've added that, so we're using that add function in views.py. So whenever we submit that form, we're going to let it go to that add function in order to work with it. And in the next video, we're going to be seeing how we'll be adding that reminder to our list of reminders.